Hello there. Today we'll be talking about the recent ban, well, China's recent ban for online games, where you can only play, well, more. It's just retarded. You're only allowed to play 1 hour on certain days, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On public holidays, you're allowed to play between 8 and 9 p.m. Which is the most retarded thing I've ever heard the Chinese government say, which is saying a lot. They are pretty fucking stupid and authoritarian. So, let's see what else they have done. The Chinese government has banned under 18 from playing online games for more than an hour a day, and then only between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and public holidays. This ban would be enforced by online game companies, which are now required to strictly enforce rules requiring users to register accounts with their real identities in order to play. Are you This is what fucking Winnie the Pooh ruining shit again. So, China has their what was it called, the social score bullshit, which, if people don't know what it is, it's basically if you do something that's not in line with the Chinese government, you're not allowed to do a lot of things, like ride bullet trains, rent apartments, basically do much with your life. And if you're a good little boy that just listens to whatever the Winnie the Pooh says, then you get to do a lot more. It is very authoritarian and one of the worst things that is happening on this planet. Well, not one of the worst things, but one of the worst governmental things against its own people. And now, with that, because China is so authoritarian, they can easily enforce real identities for online gaming companies, which I'm not really surprised with. This is the Chinese government; they can do whatever the fuck they want. Oh, it's so fucking terrible. Taking freedoms, like I knew they were going to do something like this because they want to control every aspect of their citizens' lives. So it's not really surprising that they're doing it, but it is dumb. The new restrictions are planned on the Chinese social media platform Weibo, which is Facebook. It is basically Chinese Facebook, by the People's Daily, the official newspaper of the Chinese Communist Party, and came from the General Administration of Press and Publication. It follows shares in China's biggest online gaming companies slumped after state media banned their products. Spiritual opium. They've not had a good time with the opium, the Chinese, so a bit makes sense. And compared to electronic drugs earlier this month, I kind of understand, because in China and Korea, those areas, they put a lot of games, and some people have actually died because of them. But the thing is, it's not your fucking place to decide that, like, how much you can play. It's the parents. Maybe their parents should do a fucking better job. Ever thought about that? It's not your job. Reference to opium is charged in China, where European powers, including Great Britain, the greatest empire in the world, that's not in the article, but it is, and France, that are one of the shit empires, hobbled the Qing dynasty in the mid-19th century to their heaviest imports of the drug, ultimately leading to Hong Kong being given to the British as sovereign territory before it was returned in 1997. The Opium Wars, that's what they're referring to. This crackdown apparently particularly appeared to criticize Tencent flagship game Honor of Kings. I've never heard of that game. It is a Chinese game, so the only Chinese game I've heard of is Black Myth Wukong, which is a very good looking game, but I've never heard of Honor of the Kings, which is reported to be which is reported as sometimes being played by students for 8 hours a day. That is long, obviously, but it's not your place as the government to do it, to ban stuff like that. Oh, there's more. No industry, no sport can be allowed to develop in a way that will destroy a generation. The newspaper wrote, comparing online video games to electric drugs. The newspaper called for mandatory means to force online gaming companies to prevent addiction among young players. Oh, I'm so authoritarian. Tencent, which was behind the development of the latest Pokemon game released last month, responded by saying it would introduce new measures to limit access to its games and the time spent on them by children. Following the criticism, Tencent imposed restrictions on its Honor of the Kings game, limiting under 18s to play an hour a day, normally and 2 hours a day on holidays. But the new edict from the General Administration of Press and Publication goes much further. Well, that's the end of the article. This is a fucking terrible idea. But it's an idea the Chinese government was eventually going to do. Because they want that, they want to control the Chinese people's everyday life. This is what happens when you become a communist dictatorship. And when you have authoritarian government, which China is, unfortunately. That's it really. I feel like this is gonna develop. It's in other countries, just because of how powerful China is. I'm not too sure, because America is the West is getting more authoritarian. Let's be fair. Like, it really is getting more authoritarian. The banning speech and shit. So I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Scotland, actually mostly Scotland, will do this eventually. Then they'll probably get to England and the other countries. That's it for today. Please like and subscribe, and tell me what you think of this situation. Thank you very much for listening.